Propaganda, The Formation of Men's Attitudes by Jacques Law. I wonder why he only talks about men's attitudes and why the color of the book is pink. Anyway, so we were talking about propaganda and modern propaganda and how it has become much more scientific. The scientific method is being used and people want to precisely measure the effects and the techniques used to get those effects. So it's like chemistry, where you add precise amounts of reagents and then you get the precise or the predictable amount of products from that reaction. So it's kind of like that. But some people object to the fact that it's becoming more scientific, or people think it's scientific, that it's involves serious thought and proceeds along scientific channels. Psychologists typically ridicule this claim to a scientific basis, at least in the 1960s, and reject the propagandist claims of having employed scientific techniques. The psychology he uses is not scientific psychology. The sociology he uses is not scientific sociology. That's what they say. But after a careful look at the controversy, one comes to this conclusion. Stalinist propaganda was in great measure founded on Pavlov's theory of the conditioned reflex. Not a communist today look up to Pavlov like he was such a great guy because they think humans are just animals, nothing special. Hitlerian propaganda was in great measure founded on Freud's theory of repression and libido. And American propaganda is founded in great measure on Dewey's theory of teaching. Dewey, I believe, was one of the founders of modern education. Now, if a psychologist does not accept the idea of the conditioned reflex and doubts it can be created in man, he then rejects Pavlov's interpretation of psychological phenomena and concludes that all propaganda based on it is pseudo-scientific. It is obviously the same for those who question the findings of Freud, Dewey, or anybody else. So I think this refers to the compartmentalization of science and propaganda, which is common in all areas of science and knowledge today. So what does this mean then, that they deny certain people? That propaganda does not rest on a scientific base? Certainly not. Rather, that scientists are not agreed among themselves on the domains, methods, or conclusions of psychology and sociology. A psychologist who rejects a theory of one of his colleagues rejects a scientific theory and not merely the inferences that a technician may draw from it. One cannot blame the propagandist if he has confidence in a particular sociologist or psychologist whose theory is generally accepted and who is considered a scientist. Moreover, let us not forget that if this theory, put to use by the propagandist, brings results and proves to be effective, it thereby receives additional confirmation, and that simple doctrinal criticism can then no longer demonstrate its inaccuracy. So he's just supporting the fact that propaganda is a science, and when you read what but anyway, that's his claim, and that's about it for the intro. And then we're going to talk about the external characteristics of propaganda and total propaganda, which is what we see nowadays. Alright, that's Kunal checking out with propaganda. Another video for chapter 1.